Nature on Loan at Piedmont Center for the Arts, 2021. Welcome. Art Quilts by Alisa Golden. First, we'll take a quick look around the rooms. These are the fire quilts over here. Let's go into the main hall. There are 47 quilts and 5 books in the show. The pandemic and scrap quilts are over here. The hidden animals on the far wall. These are the newest ones over here. Let's take a closer look. A chime of wrens. This one's beaded and sewn. They're about the Buick's wrens that live around my neighborhood. These are chickadees. Aquila. Aquila was Zeus's personal assistant, bearing and carrying his thunderbolts and retrieving them after they struck. Thoreau wrote to Emerson, "Conversation should be folded many times thick." This one is What Are We Becoming? Those were hand-carved linoleum blocks. And this is wood type that I printed. This one's a merging of gears and ears. Some of our technology works for us, like hearing aids and other things like that, and some of our technology doesn't. A few earlier quilts. Pros and cons is a discussion. Don't Look Behind You is based on crow feathers. Hope Rants is cyanotype printing with some sign painter stencils that I got at an antique store. They Know Which Way to Go. I was thinking about migration, both birds and people, going north. Here are the fire quilts. These were all made during September and October of 2020. Matches are made of trees. There seems to be an irony in that. The plague, the fire, the fall. The sky had turned so orange. Wishing stars. Big fires start small. It's a very small quilt with some beading on it. Rough Patch. That was the first of the fire quilts. The fires all seemed to start that one night when we had lightning and no rain. The Burn Zone was a poem that I wrote in 2018 but it seemed appropriate for this particular quilt as well. That's all hand dyed. Blue sky eyes. It seemed like during the pandemic, when we were out of our cars, the sky was bluer. They must agree. That was another poem, although the embroidery I did over several years while I was teaching and traveling. It was a good project for that. Here's Alphabetical Like Encounters. It has the full poem that They Must Agree is based on. This is Backbone. I had written an acrostic: begin anywhere, capture knowledge backwards, order new events. But it didn't make it into the quilt. Admission: a secret thorn torn halfway between truth and fear. Admit one. Where's My Passport? That is a poem stitched in it, and one line of stitching all those faces. Cagey, one of the scrap quilts from the pandemic series. Here are the rest of the pandemic quilts. Also mostly scraps. Spike bloom. The flowering cactus seemed a good metaphor for the coronavirus. Herd mentality. More scraps. And a piece of letterpress printing from wood type. It was supposed to be a luxury. This one's based on a photo that I took from the Richmond shoreline. We could see the Grand Princess over across the bay. Social Distance has a New York subway picture with no people. Looking for Joy is inspired by Rosie Lee Tompkins' exhibit. Repetition of Days is May of 2020. And some solar prints from signage that I saw in a local park. 6 feet over. I needed to find out what was 6 feet. Early on, it was hard to know. So the quilt is almost 6 feet. Solitary. Another scrap quilt. About face. I cut through 2 layers of cloth together. The Osprey quilts. Sweet Osprey Dreams. When Birds Sleep. Wood type, solar printing. Nightlights on the Bay. Those were all based on the web camera that was installed by the Golden Gate Audubon Society. These are the hidden animals. The hidden cat is on the left, hidden owl, and the hidden osprey, all made from very small pieces. Here's the hidden cat walking toward you. Seraph, the holy quilt, with my butterfly-like angel combinations and embroidery. Almost Cherry Season has a poem printed on it. as well as cherries that I made linoleum cut. I dreamed the image. Here's Birds of the Bible, Bearded Vulture. This is part of a project with 3 different books that I was awarded a grant. Resilience. This one has lots of tea dyeing and stitching, and this was painted on, the nasturtiums were painted on. There's Morse code that says resilience. And there's also Braille that says resilience in square knots. Deep beneath the ink dark sea. I wanted to show that there's life way down there. We're kind of like another planet. And there's a lot, it's bioluminescent. So there's some glow in the dark paint on these jellyfish and the octopus eyes there. Study for a finding. One of the first walks I took after it seemed more normal, I found a mussel shell and I just really loved it. Wanted to make a quilt about it. This has silk binding. In the wake of the dream. These were dreams that I dreamed all in one night. It's all in one night that I then revised and rewrote. The third light I made also dealing with the eagle and the constellation Aquila. Folding birds. It's based on an origami bird, and I use deColourant, which takes the color out of the cloth. So that tan color is really the same black cloth, just with some of the color removed. City share. We share our city with the crows who clean up after us a little bit. That's a stencil. More deColourant and then another little stencil. Some sashiko based stitching and machine stitching. And the stitching down the center says city and suggestion of a feather there. These are all hand dyed. I like to play around with the crumpling up cloth and dyeing it, and it started looking like flowers and leaves to me. This is called Be Light. So that's all hand dyed and stitched. And I tried to dye some fire red and it came out very pink. I decided to go with Robert Frost's line, "The only way out is always through." So I embraced the pink. It's not easy. My green quilt. It's not easy being a tree in a drought. And that's it. Thanks for watching.